Have you ever thought about that one TV commercial that's just straight up just burned into your brain? Because every time I think of like commercials and specific commercials that like just come up in my brain every once in a while, it's gotta be these dreams I wanna close my eyes, aka that love ballads or 40 love ballads or whatever with here and now. I really gotta stop singing because I'm definitely gonna get demonetized. Hello everybody, this is That Manga Dude and welcome to another reading log. This is for the month of October. I managed to read a lot of my favorite series, a lot of my current favorite series, as well as a lot of really great new stuff. Just a good solid mix. Definitely not a lot of spooky stuff, I'm gonna be completely honest. There are a couple horror stuff here and there and horror adjacent, but definitely a lot more, just a lot of great just work coming out in general. So really excited to talk about it. I didn't read as much as I usually do, which I've been saying for the past couple months, but that's just because it's been horrifically busy. Maybe it'll change in November. I highly doubt it. The holiday season is one of the busiest times of the year for me. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Anyways, let's get started right now. Alright, so the first manga that I read in the month of October 2024 is Blue Box Volume 12 from Koji Miura, and oh buddy, we did it. We did it. We're finally reached that point. I won't spoil it if you haven't read it, but if you've reached this volume, you know exactly what happens, and we are here for it. So, yeah, love this volume. Really enjoying this series quite a bit. I mean, I can see why people don't tend to like it. It is very much a slow burn, but I don't know. It's just a little light read to like always check out. I love how the characters are written, and I love the art. So, yeah, very excited to get the next volume. Alright, coming up now, after that, we have ourselves Kowloon Generic Romance, Volume 8 from Jun Miyazuki. Oh my goodness. The plot is just constantly thickening, suffocating in fact, but man, I love this series. It's like there's so many extra mysteries. Some get solved in like one volume, and then you just get like another 5,000 mysteries, and it just keeps you interested and hooked throughout this entire story, and like it just continues with this one, specifically in this volume, as we're starting to learn more about what Kowloon actually is, and it is a wildly entertaining, and man, I sure do love this series. So really happy to have read this, and yeah, like I said with Blue Box, I am so excited to read the next volume. Alright, up next, decided to read volume 11 of Zom 100 Bucket List of the Dead. This is they're continuing their little pilgrimage session or whatever you want to call it, and yeah, the series just continues to be another one of those light reads. It's just kind of fun to pick up every once in a while. I'm not caught up at all. I'm like 5 volumes behind, but even then, like, it doesn't feel like the plot really goes anywhere. So it's just one of those like fun little romps every once in a while that I just want to like oh, okay, I want to join my little friends and see what they're up to. This has got the yacht part, which if you know what that is, well, you know. But yeah, another pretty solid volume for a pretty good series. Alright, up next, decided to read the first volume of Monkey Peak from Koji Shinosaka and Akihiro Kumita. I've talked about this at length at both of my pickup and the FVI, but to give you the TLDR, I did actually like this quite a bit, or I did actually like this. I thought it was pretty freaking cool. I like the art and points, and I really like the story. But I have commented multiple times that I just don't think that this release is worth picking up in its current state. $25 is a very steep price considering that this is a paperback, and it does not have the best lettering that you should be expecting from such a high price point. But overall, I thought it's actually a pretty decent series, and yeah, if you want to go check it out, I don't know if there's a legal online way to read it, but I would say that would be the way to go if you're going to read it. Alright, up next, decided to pick up and read Kaiju number 8, volume 11 from Naoya Matsumoto. Yeah, we're just continuing on with the very long, what do you want to call it, the very long arc that's currently going on, which is like the fight between like a good chunk of the Kaiju. It's, yeah, the series just continues to be really, really fun. The action, it's like just constantly action-packed. I'm loving that we're getting some more character development for some of our other characters. So, yeah, this was a really cool volume, and I wish these releases were a little bit faster because, man, they are so much fun to read, but they are very quick reads. Alright, up next, Akane Banashi Volume 8 from Yuki Suenaga and Takamasa Moe. Yeah, I've talked about this series consistently, and yeah, we're like in the middle of a pretty major, like, I would say, tournament arc. Definitely getting some really interesting, like, backstories and some pretty fun ways of interpreting how Rakugo can be, like, story told by various people, and I just love this series so much, and I'm really loving how we get more screen time with like some of the other characters, or paper time, or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I just love this series so much. I think it's really well done, and Akane is a great main character, and yeah, loving the side characters in this specific volume. Alright, up next, decided to read UFO Mushroom Invasion from Shirakawa Marina. Yeah, this is a very old school manga, basically. This, like, UFO crashes and starts to spread its, like, spores, because it's, like, a mushroom kind of, like, alien thing, and it starts to infecting the people of this planet, aka Earth, and so they have to try and stop it from completely infecting everybody. So, yeah, it's a pretty creepy read. It does have some very old school art, so if you're not a big fan of that kind of, like, Kazuo Ume's looking style, where everybody looks a little too serious, you're probably not going to like it. But it does have some pretty good art, and this is overall just a really fantastic release. I love the interview, or like not the interview, but like the whole entire like information about the writer himself in the back, which is super awesome. So this was a really cool release, and I'm glad I read it. Alright, up next, decided to read Tank Chair, Volume 1 from Manabu Yashido. This was a series that a lot of people were hyping up and were excited to see it get released, and I am included in that group as well. This was really, really flippin' cool. The action was stupendous, super fun, ridiculous, over the top, and you're just going to have a great fun time with it. If you like stuff like Mad Max, where it's just intense, ridiculous action, this is a series that you're going to totally enjoy. In case you didn't know what it's about, basically it follows the story here of this guy here, who's kind of like in a comatose state, but basically awakens every time there's someone with a killer instinct around him, and then he goes on his killer rampage, because he used to be an assassin back in the day. So it's a pretty ridiculous premise, but it is so much fun, and I love the characters, I love the art. I'm not going to show more of the art because it is very gory, so just keep that in mind if you can decide to pick this up. Alright, up next, I decided to read Panty and Stocking with Garter Belt, the manga, and yeah, this was interesting. Yeah, so I like Panty and Stocking with Garter Belt, the anime, at least to an extent. I've watched only about half the show, and then kind of was like, alright, I think I got my fill of it. And yeah, after reading it, I understand why I decided to do that. It's kind of... It feels very one note, especially the manga. The manga feels like it's not necessarily the most interesting read in the world. They kind of just do things and it's like, oh, that's it. Like, there's not really plot pushing moments in it, but overall it was still like a kind of a fun read. If you can find it for cheap and you like Panty and Stocking, I think you'll enjoy it. But for me, it was okay. And last but not least from this stack, I decided to read the final volume of Tokyo These Days. This is volume 3 from Taiyo Matsumoto, and probably one of the best 3-volume series I think I've ever read. It was just a remarkable read, and it was just a very, very fantastic ending. I love how Taiyo Matsumoto like tells stories in such a unique way, mixing like surreal moments with like these very, very serious and very real moments. I just love it so much. It's such a remarkable series, and it just... I don't know, it hits all the right notes for me. I think it was just a fantastic read, and I'd highly suggest picking this up if you kind of want like a more serious note, but like constantly questioning your kind of like ideas of life and things like that. So I don't know, it was remarkable, and I'm happy to have read this series. Alrighty, up next, so I had to move my camera a bit because my camera started to die, so I needed to put it to charge. Anyways, the next volume that I decided to read was Dan to Dan, Volume 9 from Yukinobu Tatsu. Yeah, love this series so much. Dun, 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 dun. And yeah, this continues to be an absolutely remarkable series. This is like basically the part where we get the big kaiju fight as well as meeting the alien girl. So yeah, another great volume, and I can't wait for the next one. Alright, up next, decided to read the first volume of Otaku Vampire's Love Bite from Julieta Suzuki, and yeah, I ended up really liking this. I talked about this during my FVI for the past October, so go check that out if you want my full opinions on it, but for the good TLDR, I thought it was pretty good. I actually like the art quite a bit, I like the characters a lot, and I think the story, although it's not necessarily the most interesting thing in the world, it is pretty hilarious in parts. The pacing is solid as well, and we get to meet some pretty interesting characters across the board, so yeah, overall, really liked it, and definitely going to be interested in picking up the next volume. Alright, up next, decided to read My Dear Detective Mitsuko's Case Files Volume 1 from Natsumi Ito. Another one that I did for the FBI, and I absolutely loved this. This was right up my alley. It was super great. The art is fantastic, with some great costume designs, great character designs as well. Some pretty solid mysteries. Definitely feels like very much like a cozy little mystery series where like things kind of happen and we get to have those cases solved pretty easily. But overall, I loved it quite a bit, and I highly suggest picking this up, especially if you love stuff like Miss Marple mysteries from Agatha Christie. Alright, after that, I decided to read 2 volumes of Soul Eater. This is volumes 18 and 19 of Atsushi Kubo's. It's a fantastic series. I love this series. I love where we're going. Volume 18 had some really cool paneling that I was like, wow, okay, I see you, Okubo, I see you. The series just continues to be really flippin' awesome. I love the characters. I love the story. The action scenes are great. The little emotional moments are great as well. I love how we're going through like this book. I'm kind of curious as to where the story is going to go, especially what happens at the end of volume 19. I know there's only a few more volumes after that, so definitely interested to continue reading the series and finish it up and see how this story ends. Alright, after that, I decided to read Medalist Volume 4 from Tsurumakara. Oh, baby, this series is amazing. I love it so much. I love sports series regardless, like, of what kind of sport it is, but this one just is remarkable. It's so well done. The art is fantastic. The characters are so well done. The story is just really inspirational and remarkable. I don't know. I just love it. There's so much to love about this series, and I totally get why people have been hyping it up. We're super excited when it got announced for a physical release, and yep, I am alongside those people. This is probably one of my favorite releases of the year. Alright, so before I get into the next one, I wanted to shout out a short little manga that I read, which was the Sonic X Shadow Generations X Chow manga, which was from Ian Flynn, Misa Shion, and Minho Kim. One of my friends actually got to work on this, and it's so awesome, and I'm so proud of her. Remarkable work. I really enjoyed it, to be honest, and I know I'm a little biased because I know one of the people who worked on it, but genuinely, I think the storytelling was on point. The colors were beautiful and well done, especially with no dialogue. I feel like that's a very difficult thing to do, is when you have a comic that has no dialogue, because like it can go so wrong so quickly, because it's really hard. It can be pretty hard to storytell without dialogue, but they did it really well, and it's just really cute, adorable. If you like Sonic, I honestly give it a shot, and even if you don't, it's still pretty fun. I think there's like a nice little story that wraps up very quickly, and you can read it online for free through the Sonic the Hedgehog Twitter or somewhere else, but I know Sonic the Hedgehog Twitter for sure has it. But loved it, and I thought it was great. So yeah, that's all I wanted to mention about that. Alright, up next, I decided to read the 5th volume of Dinosaur Sanctuary from Itaru Kinoshita and Shinichi Fujiwara, and yep, Dinosaur Sanctuary continues to be awesome. I just love it so much. It's just, I don't know, it's so easy to read, and like I love like the topics that they talk about, whether it's like people who take their job too seriously, or people who don't take their job seriously enough, or too much of a focus on like one thing can really mess up a flow of things. So overall, I don't know, it just continues to hit the right moments for me, and I love this a lot. It's just a really good slice of life kind of job focused series. I like it a lot, especially if you love dinosaurs. Definitely pick this up. It's great. Alright, next I decided to read Delicious in Dungan Volume 7. We are now halfway through the series. Yeah, I love this series. It's just, man, I get it. I totally get it now. Like, it mixes that perfect mix of being silly, kind of goofy, but also mixing in a very intense and kind of complicated and complex story that's really well done, and mixed interspersed between the story, so it's not overly funny and it's not overly serious. It's like that perfect, beautiful mix. I love this series so much, and this volume just continues to push that as well, as we get to meet some of the high elves, I think is what they're called, and they are scary, and I hope, well, they're probably going to play a big part, but we'll see, because yeah, this volume was really good. Up next, I decided to read Boys Gilding the Lily Shall Die, Volume 1 from Yomo Gimochi, and yeah, this one was a cute little series. Follows the story about these two trumpeteers here. This girl has like been the first trumpet all of her life, until this one girl who's basically a trumpet prodigy comes to her school and takes her seat. Lo and behold, they kind of sort of maybe fall in love with each other. Oh my gosh, maybe possibly, but definitely has a friendship there. It's an interesting story. I like it a lot. I actually really like the first volume. The art is very very, very, very good. I always love music-based series, and I think this was another really good one. And yeah, definitely interested to see how their relationship builds throughout the series, but definitely thought it was a great first volume. Alright, up next, excited to read Star Wars, The High Republic, The Edge of Balance, Volume 1 from Shima Shinya, Justina Ireland, and Mizuki Sakakibara. This is a pretty cool like spin-off Star Wars story, which I believe is supposed to be like before the mainline series, or whatever you want to call it, but it's pretty cool. Got some really great stories and characters. You don't really need to know much about Star Wars to read this, to be honest, but if you do like sci-fi, if you do like Star Wars, yeah, definitely give this a shot. I thought it was pretty cool. Alright, coming into our final stack here, I decided to read the River Omnibus Volumes 1 through 3, the overly super hyped, I almost said overly hyped, but that's a lie because it's actually worth all the hype. The super hyped return of a classic shoujo series to English print, and it comes in an omnibus, and yep, this series is pretty freaking awesome. It follows the story of this girl here, who basically gets isekai'd into the past, into the Hittite Empire. It's very intense, it's very fun, I love the action, I love the stories, I love the character beats, the pacing is pretty remarkable as well. Yeah, definitely excited to keep reading this. This was well worth the pickup, and highly suggest picking this up if you like historical fantasies that are just super intense and super fun. Alright, up next, excited to read Gachiakuta, Volume 3 from Kei Urana and Hideyoshi Andou. Love this one quite a bit. This is another one that just has some pretty remarkable action, some really, really cool art. I love like how sketchy it can get, and it's very, very intense. I really, really enjoyed this volume, as I continue to enjoy this series in general, but we got to actually meet like the captain or the leader of the group, which we haven't met yet in this entire series, but very, very excited to keep reading this one. It just, it's so intense and I love it a lot. Alright, up next, excited to read Switch Volume 1 from Naked Ape, also known as Saki Oto and Nakamura Tomomi. Pretty interesting series, basically follows a story about these two people here, and like kind of like their group, who are like drug, or like narcs, basically. And yeah, it's their goal to try to stop these people from trading and selling drugs, and yeah, it's very intense. I actually ended up liking it quite a bit, and yeah, there's a lot of cool story beats as well. Yeah, can't wait to keep reading it. I know it's out of print, so I don't know how easy it is going to be able to find these volumes, but I will continue to collect when I can. Alright, up next, excited to read The Angel of El Hamburg from Aki. This was a pretty interesting one. I don't know what I was expecting. I picked this up a while ago because I thought it was really gorgeous, and it is. And the art is also very gorgeous. But basically, it tells a story about these two people. One of them is going to be the future king of his country, and the other one is like the knight. And this knight basically has the ability to see this angel, unlike anybody else, and the angel seems to always flock towards the future king. And yeah, so basically it's kind of like this kind of interesting, dramatic, kind of like fantasy series. It's a lot of fun. I actually ended up really liking it. I'm not sure how I feel about the ending. If you have read it, let me know how you feel about it. But yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I think it's definitely well worth it just for reading the, like looking at the art. The art is absolutely gorgeous. As you can tell, it's very detailed. And yeah, I think it's worth a pickup. Alright, up next, decide to re-destroy all humans. They can't be regenerated from Katsura Issei and Takuma Yokoda. And I think this series is such a beautiful encapsulation of how much fun it was to be a part of like a TCG scene from back in the day, when whether you were in elementary school, junior high, or high school. This series definitely hit home for me. It felt very nostalgic because I was like, that was definitely me back when I was in junior high. I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh! With a lot of friends, and it was some really great moments. I don't know, it's just like, it's one of those things that it's just a really cool community gets built there, and I just really liked it. I thought this was a really good first volume, and you don't really have to know about Magic. I think it does a really good job of explaining how Magic is played without being like overly ridiculous in terms of its explanation. So yeah, liked it quite a bit, and definitely worth a pickup for sure. All right, up next, this is Verses from One and Kyotaru, Azuma, and Bose. This was a absolutely ridiculous first volume, but basically, to give you a quick short synopsis, it follows a story about these two here. One is supposed to be like a warrior who's going to defeat the demons of his realm, and his brother who's like a mage. And then after basically everything goes wrong and the demons are kind of screwing everything up, his mage brother shows up and he's like, "We've been planning something all along. Check this out." They summon like another world and bring in like these super high-tech like high-tech dudes, but as they've also brought those people, they've brought their future like enemies as well, which are like these robots that are basically unkillable. It's absolutely ridiculous because basically they call in all these various worlds from various backgrounds, and they're planning to make them all fight against one another. So it's ridiculous, it's silly, it's crazy, but I ended up really liking it. I think it's actually well done, being this kind of like omniverse like kind of series, or like multiverse kind of world series. Very good first volume, and I'm excited to read the next one. Alright, up next, decided to read the 31st volume of Komi Cant Communicate from Tomohito Oda, and as much as I'd love to say anything about this, I have to say, it's Komi. Thank you. Alright, coming up next, I decided to read the 10th volume of Skip and Loafer from Misaki Takamatsu, and oh boy, the series is so amazing and wonderful, and another great volume, and I just want to cry and scream and just rumble and tumble everywhere. If you know anything about Skip and Loafer, it's just such a beautiful and remarkable series. I love it to death, and I'm so happy to have read this volume as early as I could have, and yeah, it was just as good as you would expect. Alright, up next, another series that I absolutely love. This is Blue Period Volume 15 from Tsubasa Yamaguchi. Another volume that just hits home really hard. I will say this current arc does feel very long. It's kind of like this art gallery arc, or whatever you want to call it, a competition thing arc. Yeah, it's been a really great series overall. And yeah, even though I'm not like the biggest fan of the pacing of this current arc, I do like how this arc is basically wrapping up or shaping up at the end. It has some really great moments, especially in this volume. Oh boy, golly, Miss Molly. Very intense moments just across the board, and yeah, it was just, it's so good. I love this series so much. Alright, up next, probably one of the most hyped up series that I've seen on Twitter in a very long time, and that is The Guy She Was Interested In Wasn't a Guy at All from Sumiko Arai. This is the first volume of The Green Yuri, also known as the Brat Summer manga, or whatever the hell you want to call it. Yeah, this series deserves all the hype it gets because it's gorgeous, it's a beautiful manga, the story is great, the characters are amazing and funny. Just to give you a quick synopsis, if you couldn't tell by the name, basically it follows a story about this girl here who ends up going to this music store because she loves music, but she kind of has a hard time expressing her feelings about it because her friends are only really into pop and she's into a variety of genres. So she walks into this music store and sees this very handsome person, and she's like, oh my gosh, am I falling in love? They're so adorable. And lo and behold, what she doesn't know is that she thinks that this person is a guy, but in case you couldn't tell by the name, she is not a guy. So it's about their budding friendship and kind of like goofiness together. It's just a lot of fun. I liked it a lot. It's just a really great read from start to finish, and man, I'm excited for that second volume. Alright, up next, I decided to read the 4th volume of Tokyo Babylon from Clamp. This one was another absolutely ridiculous and crazy volume. Man, Tokyo Babylon's like very interesting, like especially with this 4th volume, because then we get more context about that older guy who always seems like he's scheming about something, but we got some stuff towards the end of this volume that's kind of sort of hinting at what's going on. But man, I love it. It's really cool. If you're looking for like a pretty interesting kind of like Omnioji slash like kind of like a demon hunter slash demon slayer-y, not really, kind of more like Kaishi, I guess, like kind of like an Exorcist manga, if anything. I think this one's really good. I think it's just, I don't know, it's very well done, and probably one of my, closer to my top of my favorites of Clamp series. Alright, up next, excited to read the second volume of Heavenly Delusion from Masakazu Ishiguro. This is another one that has a lot of very interesting, like, plot twists already, especially in this volume. There's, like, some stuff that's kind of building up as to what is going on and why there's, like, the two realities of these two different people are very different, but also seem to be kind of mirrored in a way. I really, really like this series. I definitely need to pick up volumes faster, but they're so hard to find, so hopefully I can find them in person soon. And last but not least, to finish off the month of spooks, I decided to read Volume 1 of Manhole from Tetsuya Tsutsui. This is from a new publisher called Kana, which is, I guess, an Abram Books manga division or whatever you want to call it, not to be mistaken for another company that's called Kana. They do have very similar logos, so I don't actually know if they're associated or not. But yeah, this was a really interesting horror manga. Basically, it follows a story about like this super crazy disease that's kind of like spreading among people, where they get like kind of this parasite that kind of enters their body and makes them kind of a little loopy and a little crazy. So you follow the story about the detective and like his assistant as they work to try to figure out how this even came to be. It's actually pretty intense. It has some really gross and nasty moments, but very good art across the board and a very interesting story already. So yeah, excited to keep reading it. It is for adult audiences only. There is some nudity and some other things in it as well, so just keep that in mind if you're going to pick this up. And that is going to be it for this, I almost said pickups video, this reading log. Thank you for watching. What did you see that you enjoyed, or what have you been reading over this past month? Let me know in the comments below. I always like to pick up more stuff. I have been picking up a couple of volumes, and probably will be doing a another kind of like follower / subscriber reading log. So if you're excited for that, definitely give me some more suggestions as I pick them up. And yeah, I'm very interested to see what you guys are all reading. And yeah, you can like, you can comment, you can subscribe. Those are all amazing things. I really appreciate it when you do those fantastic, wonderful things. And you can join my membership to get these videos early and start to get videos for members only as well. So thank you so much for watching. I see you in the next one. Oh, bye.